Well, hello and welcome back. If you're new here, I am doing a plein air painting a day in the month of April. So welcome to Plein April. Today is day 27 and I am out at the Willamette Heritage Center in Salem, Oregon. It's actually really close to the train station, but you can barely tell that there's a train station with how loud the water is behind me. After some walking around, I found a really neat location to do my painting today. So come along and let's see how it turns out, shall we? Trying to think how I want to have everything. So kind of like miming out where I want it. Or do I want to do it like this? Yeah, let's do it like this. So there's like a little spillway of water coming over. I really like this because it's like a leading line into my painting. So it leads your eye up into the painting. So this is the top of the line. There's the water level. Think about perspective. Things get a little wider once they get closer to you. And then the cute little bridge. Little footbridge here that I walked across to get here. So this painting, unlike a lot of my other painting, is going to have a lot of architecture in it. So a lot of line work where the structure is, and a lot of like looking. There's actually like a guardrail. You can kind of see it right here in front of me. So I'm just not going to paint that. That's a really cool thing about painting, is that you can leave stuff out that doesn't help the composition of your art. Sometimes I'll close my non-dominant eye to kind of like figure out some of the composition. Okay, this is a little footbridge, and then here is there. And then the front corner of this little building. It's a very steep eave. It'll fit in the composition of the paper. A little low window. And this window is slightly taller on this side. I'm gonna have to simplify this. It's a lot. Take that out. So I'm gonna have to simplify this. There's a lot of information going on in this landscape I'm looking at. But that's another thing about painting, is like sometimes you can really go with all the detail in the world, but other times you need to simplify it so that it makes sense. This is actually the wrong spot in relationship to where this is. So I'm going to change that up to this location. So this should actually be over here. But the cool thing about gouache is that I can change it up and not worry about it, because gouache is opaque versus watercolor is transparent. And above this, there's actually a water tower, but I don't think it's as old as the buildings. So once again, I can pick and choose what's in my painting. I'm gonna do these trees here instead. So I got my composition down, and now it is time to mix some paints. I'm going to use my size 12 travel brush, put it together, some water on it, and I'm going to mix the color. So I'm going to work back to forwards. So I'm going to mix some color for the sky first, get some of my cobalt blue, and then let's do some zinc white. These are both by M. Graham, which are actually made in Hubbard, Oregon. So it's really not far from this location where these paints are manufactured. It's quite a bluebird sky day. We'll get quite a bit that zinc white in there. Yeah. So I'm just going to block it in, get some coverage of the paint. It is going to be covered up by the branches of a tree is my intention in the end. We'll see if that actually happens or not. Because sometimes your intentions don't always happen. It's quite warm today, so I anticipate my paint drying up quite a bit and needing to add a little bit extra water to help it move across the page. And it'll probably dry a bit in my palette. And this blue is just too vibrant. We'll see, because I kind of just had what was ever on my palette on before, like palette mud. I might add some of my Payne's Gray. Oh. Color mixing, I don't think it's a science. You just put colors together until you like what you see. Okay. A little bit darker, but that's okay. Added a good healthy amount of water to my brush to really help the paint flow on the paper. And we'll see. So what you see on the video might be a little bit different than what I see in life, because I am standing under a fir tree, and so you can probably see the shadows on the paper. Okay, I am quite happy with my sky as I add more paint to it. Time to move on. I am going to mix some colors for the roof of this little building. The roof is gray, so get some Payne's Gray. We'll just put it over here. It's the easiest way to show you guys. So I'm making some Payne's Gray. Let's grab some of this zinc white. I'm going to add a little bit of my burnt sienna. Warm it up a bit. Now I'm just going to add it for the roof. Add a little bit of water to my brush to help the paint flow. Try to get a straight line from the top. Some long, continuous brush strokes. This way I can paint all the way to the edge of the paper. Had to move the palette. Okay, now that's kind of like the shadow colors. I'm going to add some more zinc white. Let's do a little bit of my titanium gold ochre. Try to show the warmth of the sun hitting it. Try and look where the shadows are now. Because with plein air painting, shadows move. You just have to pick and choose where you want your light to be at the beginning so that it can stay consistent throughout the painting. Some more zinc white. Nice long stroke. Okay. And then try and do like a dappled look. I'm going to use this palette mud sitting here for this rooftop. Oh, that's more to that. I don't mind the colors don't exactly match between the two rooftops. There we go. And then I'm going to use, let's see, my red. This is once again by M. Graham, Pyro Red. A little bit of burnt sienna. Trying to mix like a darker color. Let's do some, yeah, Payne's Gray. So this is going to be like under the eave. There's like a shadow. Yeah. And then under here is really shadowed. Yeah, that's looking good. I'm going to paint all the way to where the bottom of the house is down here, because I'll overlap the bridge. That way I don't have to paint between tiny areas. And there's actually a door frame over here. Go here. I'm liking this. Light, straight strokes. Add some more red to this mixture. Kind of lighten it up, a little more vibrant. I don't want to make this look pink, so I don't really want to add any white. The last thing you want is a red building to look pink. That's just bleh. The water. Help the paint flow a little bit more. The red. Really looking at the top line of the window, because at the perspective I'm at, it's almost level to where my face is. And this goes down a little bit like that. Perspective is one of those things, it's really helpful to understand. It can really help make or break a painting, honestly. Sun's hitting it through the trees. Some more red. A little bit of this Payne's Gray, burnt sienna, more red. There we go. And then I'm going to make the dark again, like really build up the color. So Payne's Gray, red. Oops. Get back in there. There we go. A little water. The breeze is really kicking up. It's actually quite pleasant right now. So I need to take this down more. Looking at it, this is lower than this side. Alright, so this is lower than this side, so I brought it down more. Yeah, do some red underneath here. Okay, and then show the corner of the building. Front edge of the building here has these long boards. Kind of like do hints of them, but you have to be aware of like how the perspective lines are. Just a nice dark color underneath the windowsill. Okay. More red. Clean my brush off. Moving the paint around more on the paper. I can always layer more on top of it too, which is what I'm going to do actually for the roof a little bit more. I want to get some more darks in there for the shadows. Looking better. I'm just going to do some brown there. There's like another building behind it. Not super prominent. I just don't want to leave the space white. Add some zinc white to this gray color. Put it back here, so when you're looking at the bridge in between the boards, it's not just white of the paper. Kind of planning ahead. Some green. So nice to have colors left over that you can just pick up and use as you need. It's more of this red going. I'm liking that. Okay, so the water, which I'm actually really excited to do the water here because there's reflections. So, reflections include like a super springy green, so I'm going to get my azo yellow, my cobalt blue, and then the helio turquoise. And then some zinc white. I'm just gonna lay it in here. This in here too. And then we got some of the red reflecting. Some brown colors. Kind of like wet into wet, just gonna let it like blend together. The color of the water itself is kind of brown, but I'm just gonna jazz it up and make it really more pretty than what it is. Let's get some of the helio turquoise. My Delft blue. Some burnt sienna. Yeah. Lightly painting it in. Let it kind of blend on the paper. Because I'm getting it pretty wet, kind of like watercolors. And now the spillway. Mixing some more of the same colors, a little bit more darker side though. Add some water to my brush. And then after this dries, I'll add white to indicate the water spilling over. It's all frothy and spilling out. There we go. Just using my brush, wet into wet. Indicate some motion. There. Okay, this is drying up here, so I can start working on the bridge. But before I work on the bridge, there are some bushes here. So I want to get some of that green in there to show the bushes. Mixing some more green. Use the same area, use my Azo yellow, titanium white, and Delft blue. And I'm going to add, well, actually I can't do it yet. There's windows I need to add in. Because if I don't do the windows now, I don't want to paint around, the bush. Beat around the bush, paint around the bush. Anyways, bad jokes set aside. I'm going to do what you see through the windows. It's just dark in there. Use my ivory black, Payne's gray, some Delft blue. Make like a nice dark color. And then I'll add white over it with a smaller brush, I'm thinking. So it doesn't have to be all the way to the edges of the white, because there's white trim work around it. So I just went and stood in the sun for a couple minutes to dry a really dark area, so I can just go in and do my white right now. And then I can do my bushes. Got my little tiny detail brush, which is a size 4. My titanium white. Putting it on my palette. Taking a little bit of color. Looking a lot at my subject. It's okay, it's not pure white to begin with. I will add more white layered on top of it as needed. Because this will slightly pick up the colors underneath, so like the reds and the dark blue I mixed. They got little panes. I'm not worried about making the lines perfect, like solid and stuff. It's a painting. Oops. This brush, it falls apart. I'll just do a stubby brush painting. There we go. A little more water to my brush. Help the paint flow a little bit better. And make my brush to a flat-sided area. Well, this one's like a bigger window. It's not like separated the big wide thing. See, there's there we go. And then this window goes up. There's actually a door right here, so I'm just going to hit the corner here, door frame. Here's some of my pure white. where I want the sun hitting the frame. I like to rest my pinky on my paper where the paper's dry to help guide my finger when I do these little detailed line work. Okay, that's looking pretty cool. I mean, the windows aren't exactly right, but there's no point in focusing on that. And that's why I carry a tiny little brush. Alright, next, this is definitely dry. I'm going to start working on that bridge. The bridge is red, much like the building. Some red in here. So the far side of the bridge is in sun, so I'm going to keep this nice and light. And I'm just going to, let's see, where do I... Oh, I almost forgot about the bush. I'm going to paint this bush, which is overlapping this door frame. Yellow, blue. I'm picking up the colors underneath. Not the end of the world. I'll just take out my tiny stubby brush and really get some of that color going in there. Hopefully not disturbing the undercolors a bunch, because that's when they show through. So as this bush dries, I'm going to work on the trees, I decided, because I like to move around different areas, get more done. And make like, it's like a black with some gray on it for these trees. Okay, branches. A little water to help the paint flow better. So I'm varying the pressure of my paintbrush to go from like a thick line to a thin line. Hello.
Hi. Mind if we walk in front of you?
Not at all.
Oh my gosh, that's good.
Thank you.
Oh, I wish I had some kind of talent like that. That's
I
beautiful.
do watercolor painting classes online. Not online, but I do them in person. In person in Salem and stuff.
Okay.
So I have like the drawing already done for you. And I teach how to mix colors. And I have the paintbrushes.
I'm so blind.
Well, you know, you can just paint with your shade blind or color blind.
No, he's colorblind. I'm shade blind.
So you can't see the darks between the lights?
I can't tell what blue goes with what blue.
Okay.
And
Oh,
that, yeah.
like hue, like the color.
Yeah.
So when I think of shades, I think like light versus dark. Shading something like light and dark.
Oh, yeah.
So hue, H-U-E, is like the actual color. So
yeah, because when I was in high school, I wore a skirt and top for 3 years, and finally somebody says, you know, that doesn't go together.
Oh no.
Oh, of course, as a kid, I was embarrassed, you know.
Yeah, but then like whatever.
Yeah. But you did very well.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Enjoy the sunshine. Okay. Tree branches. I'm liking these. I want to keep it kind of simple because I'll just add a bunch of the greenery. So I want to do a little lemon yellow. I'm just going to add it to this. Lemon yellow will make it a little bit more springy, like brighter, vibrant. It's my Delft blue. And then add a little bit of titanium white. I'm going to add water to it, and I'm going to see if this works or not. More yellow, more water to it will help it. There we go. Probably clean water would help. Now I'm going to go in lemon, Delft, and do bigger clumps. These trees remind me of the tree that I painted last Saturday in the backyard of a rental. I'll put a link to that video here. They're like, somebody said it could be like a weeping birch. So like the leaves, the branches kind of like hang down, which these could be the same thing, honestly. Kind of like just bouncing my brush around on the paper. I'm not going to draw every little branch that's holding these leaves because as someone looks at it, it'll kind of like your brain will connect the dots for you usually. I mix more of the color, but this time I didn't add the whites. I want a little bit darker going. I like to vary my colors a little bit, play around with it. Add some interest. Now I'll add a little bit of white to it and overlap the dark areas. Now I'm going to add a little bit of lighter color down here. Add some of my cobalt blue, azo yellow, and work on this bush a little bit. There we go. Less of the red showing through in that. Let's see. We start working on the bridge. I like this red. Get a little water with it. Reactivate it. One long straight line. Some more red. Really punch it up. It's all concentration to do a straight line, so I just like to stop talking. And it's not straight to the paper, but the line itself is mostly straight. Okay, and then a little posts that go down. This is a far post. So all my other colors are going to be darker, so now I can start making it dark. So my red, Payne's gray, burnt sienna, more red, another line, overlapping, keeping like the same amount of pressure on my brush as well. And then the far side, I'm not done yet, I realized. I gotta do more post. Not post, but railings. There's this rail. And then there's this rail. Now I can do railings on this side. There. And like change the shape of my brush a little bit so it's not super wide. This rail. I'm just going to do one swipe and be done. I'm not going to nitpick. So I feel if I nitpick a lot, it will not look good. And yes, you can definitely overwork paintings. I'm going to let this dry. And then, while it's dry, I'm going to work on this part here. Let's see. Looking at the colors of the wood. Red. Corner post. Browns. Let's do those. And over here. Zinc white. Zinc white is underneath all that color, I promise. Oh, I can hear a train coming by. It's this post. Very dark. And I think it's like a railroad tie, actually. Darker is what's behind it here. That's really dark. I just mix my ivory black and my Payne's gray together for that. Add some of my zinc white to that. Grayed color over here. A little bit of brown. Along here too. Then we work on the details of the bridge a little bit. Some more of a red going. Payne's gray, really dark. More dark. I want to make a nice straight line, so I'm just going to move the paper so it's easier for me to paint and see where this line is going. The Payne's gray kind of goes a little bit to blue versus black, and notice this, when you add a lot of it to red, it kind of makes a purple actually. I mean, yeah, it makes sense to do that. That it does that. Alright, time for more white, like highlights. Put some more in the window a little bit. And now, probably the fun part is down here. So I'm just going to layer in just pure titanium white, and then dry brush the motion of the water. So I'm not adding extra water to my brush, kind of letting it get a little dry. This will probably be the first layer because I want it like even more white. So this is kind of picking up some of the blues that I laid down on my paper. And then time for the, I'm just kind of dragging what paint is down, up, in the motion of the water falling over this little spillway. Add water to my brush, get a slightly different texture. And let's do Some going down. This is the top of the spillway. As it comes closer to me, I'm going to press my brush down a little more firmly to make like wider strokes. Get some more of my color. The water is dried out, so if I add less water to it, like watercolors, it'll be darker. There we go. And let that dry. Actually, it might be dry enough now. The wind is nice and breezy. It is warm out. So to keep those environmental elements in mind as you're painting, because it will affect how quickly or not quickly your paint dries on the paper and in the palette, even if you're like standing in the sun or not standing in the sun. Just a little more dry brush effect. I hope you enjoyed watching me paint today's plein air painting over at Willamette Heritage Center in Salem, Oregon. It was a very beautiful early afternoon in the shade. It feels like spring/summer is finally here. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. And if you want to get notified when my next video is available, make sure to hit that little bell. I hope today's video has inspired you to bring your paints and paintbrush and paper with you when you go out on your next trip out and about. Thank you again so much for joining me today. I will see you in the next video.